This native female flower reaches the surface of water by a long stalk, and the male flower in various areas the female flower is reached to the water. The female flower reaches the surface by a long stalk, and the male flower, the pollen is released on the surface of the water. They are carried passively by the water and water currents. Some of them eventually reaches the female flower and the stigma. In another group of water pollinated flowers such as seagrass, Zustera, seagrass, female flower remains submerged in the water and the male gametes are released inside the water. They are long, ribbon-like, and are carried passively under the water. Inside the water, some of them reaches stigma and achieve pollination. In most of the water pollinated species, pollen grains are protected by a from wetty covering by mucilaginous sea covering. Both wind and water pollinators are not very colorful as they do not produce nectar. इस पेज में क्या इंपॉर्टेंट दिखा हुआ मेरे को वाटर पॉइंटेड क्रोमोनेटा ग्रासेस में टार्चेस हम लोग का इसको रिप्रेजेंट करता है ये स्टिग्मा और स्टायर को 30 जनरल बस यहाँ पे दिखाता है वाटर पॉलिनेशन उसमें से मेनली मोनोकॉट करता है यूजली वारिसनेरिया हाइड्रेरा फ्रेश वाटर और मरीन में जूस्टेरा है वाटर हाइड्रेंस और वाटर लिली का जो फ्लावर इमर्ज होता है अबव द वाटर इमर्ज होता है अबव द वाटर पॉलिनेटेड बाय इंसेक्ट और विंड इन वारिसनेरिया फीमेल फ्लावर reach the surface of the water to a long stalk and the male flowers of the pollen grain are released on the surface of the water. ठीक है डन सीग्रास में फीमेल फ्लावर सबमर्ज रहता है मेल pollen grain released inside the water हो जाता है pollen grain in such species are long ribbon-like and they are carried passively inside the water. Stations covering Sota. Transit depend on restricted routes. Majority of the flowering plant use certain range of animals as pollinating agent: bees, butterflies, wasps, moth, ants, birds, sunbirds, hummingbirds, and bats are common pollinating agents. Among the animals, insects, particularly bees, are dominant pollinating agents. Bees are dominant. Bees are notes में लिखा हुआ नहीं है. Even larger animals such as lemurs, arable, tree-dwelling rodents, and even reptiles such as gecko lizard or garden lizard has primates, जैसे lemurs, arborier, जैसे tree-dwelling rodents कहते हैं, या फिर reptiles जैसे garden lizard हो गया और gecko lizard हो गया. But often flower of animal pollinated are scientifically adapted for a particular species of animals to protect themselves from foreign cheaters. Majority of the insect pollinated flowers are larger, colorful, and fragmented, and are rich in nectar. When the flower is small or large, a number of flowers are clustered into an inflorescence to make them conspicuous. Animals are attracted to the flower by the color of the fragments. The flower also mentioned the flies and beetles secrete spore orders to attract these animals to sustain animal visits. The flower needs to provide rewards. Nectar and foreign grain are usual for rewards. For harvesting rewards from the flower, the animal visitors comes in contact with the anther and stigma. The body of the animal gets coated with the pollen grain, which are generally sticky in animal pollinating flowers. When the animal carrying the pollen on the body come in contact with the stigma, it brings out the pollination. ठीक है? In some species, floral rewards are in providing safe spaces to lay eggs. An example is Taurus flower known as Amorphophorus. Amorphophorus एक Taurus flower है. Taurus flower Amorphophorus है, जहाँ पे वो साइड देता है एग्री करने के लिए 6 फुट तौर होता है. The flower is about 6 feet in height. A similar relationship is applied to the species of moth and the flower. Moth or yucca plant may be the same species of moth and the plant cannot complete their life cycle without each other. The moth deposits their egg into the ocule of the ovary and the flower in turn gets pollinated by the moth, and the flower gets pollinated by the moth. The larvae of the moth come out of the egg as the seeds start developing. Why don't you observe some flowers of the foreign plants or any others available to you? Cucumber, mango, pepper, coriander, papaya, onion, rabia, cotton, tobacco, rose, lemon, eucalyptus, banana. Try to find out which animal visits them and whether they could be pollinators. You will have patiently observe the flowers over a few days at different times of day. You could also try to see whether is any correction in the characteristic of prior to the animal that visits is carefree. Also, if any of the visitor come in contact with the anther and the stigma as only and the stigma कहाँ गायब हो गया? As only such visitors can bring about pollination. Many insects may consume pollen, bringing poisons. Hello man. और ब्रीडिंग डिवाइसेस इन ब्रीडिंग में तो होता है सेल्फ को प्रमोट करता है, क्रॉस को इनहिबिट करता है, और ब्रीडिंग में क्रॉस को प्रमोट करेगा, सेल्फ को इनहिबिट करेगा. ठीक है. मेजॉरिटी of flowering plants produces hermaphrodite flowers, and pollen grain are likely to come in contact with the stigma of the flower. Continued self-pollination results in inbreeding diffusion. Flowering flowers have developed many devices to discourage self-pollination and to encourage cross-pollination. In some species, pollen release and stigma receptor is not synchronized. Pollen release or stigma receptacle not synchronized. Either the pollen is released before the stigma, or stigma becomes receptacle much before the release of anther. Pollen released before the stigma becomes receptacle, or stigma becomes receptacle much before the release of pollen. In some other species, the anther and the stigma are placed at different levels, so that the pollen cannot come in contact with the stigma. Heterostatic condition. Third device. Third device to prevent inbreeding is search for incompatibility. This is a genetic mechanism and prevents self-pollination from the same flower or the other flowers of the same species. Self-incompatibility. ये ऑटोगैमी है. Another device to prevent self-pollination is the production of unisexual flowers. If both male and female flowers represent on different flowers such as castor and maize, that is monoecious. It prevents autogamy but not heterogamy. In several species, as papaya, male and female flowers are represented on different plants, that is, the plant is either male or female. Foreign crystal interaction. Pollination does not guarantee a transfer of the right type of pollen. Compatible pollen of the same species or as the stigma. Often, pollen of the wrong type, either from the species or from the plant, either from the other species or from the same plant. If it is incompatibility, lands on stigma. Pistil has the ability to recognize the pollen, whether it is the right type, compatible. If it's wrong type, incompatible. If it is the right type, the pistil accepts the pollen and promote. If it's the right type, pistil accepts the pollen and promotes the post events that occurs. That is used for fertilization. But the pollen is of if the pollen is of wrong type, the pistil rejects the preventing the emission of on the stigma or the pollen tube growth in the star. The ability of the pistil to recognize the pollen. The ability of the pistil to recognize the pollen followed by acceptance and rejection is the result of the continuous dialogue. Pollen stigma to produce pollen tube. One of the examples. The contents of the pollen may move into the pollen tube. Contents of pollen can move into the pollen tube. Pollen tube goes through the tissue of the stigma and style and reaches to the ovary. You would record that in some plants pollination set at two sets condition of acidity and reproduction. In such plants, the generative cell divides and forms two male gametes, leaving a brood of pollen tube in the stigma. In plants which set the three set stages, pollen tube carry the two male gametes from the beginning. Pollen tube, after reaching the ovary, enters into the ovule through the micropyle and enters one of the synergids. इसको डिसइंटीग्रेशन जिसके रेट्रोफिलिफॉर्म apparatus इसको गाइड करता है. Many recent studies have shown that puriform apparatus present on the micropyle end of the synergids guide the entry of pollen tube. All these events from the pollen deposition on the stigma until the pollen tube enters the ovule are together. From pollen deposition, as pointed out earlier, pollination interaction is a dynamic process involving pollen recognition, the knowledge gained in this area of test for plant breeder. $100 और क्या है ना 100 ये तो कर मिलेगा डबल फिल्ट्रेशन तो कितना करेंगे. You can easily study pollen generation by testing some pollen from flowers such as pea, chickpea, or tuberculosis on the grass. Right, drop a sugar solution about 10%. After 15-30 minutes, observe the slide at a low power scale. You will like to find the pollen tube coming out. Pollen tube के लिए 10% sugar solution होना जरूरी है. Sugar solution of 10%. A breeder is interested in crossing different species and often to combine desirable characters to produce commercially superior hybrids. Artificial hybridization is one of the major approaches for the crop improvement program. In such crossing experiment, it is important to make sure that desired pollen are used for the pollination and stigma is protected from unwanted pollen achieved by emasculation and bagging techniques. If the female plant bears bisexual flower, removal of the anther from the flower. Removal of anthers from the flower, but before the anther diseases. Using a pair of forceps is necessary. This step is referred as emasculation. Emasculated flowers have to be covered with a bag of suitable size, generally made up of butter paper. To prevent contamination of stigma by unwanted flower. This process is known as bagging. When stigma of the bagged flower attains receptivity, mature pollen grain collected from anther of the male plant dusted on the stigma, and the flower is rebagged. Fruits around the female flower produces unisexual flowers. No need for emasculation. Back, the flower open, stigma becomes receptacle, pollination is carried out using desired pollen, and flower is rebagged. Double fertilization after entering one of the synergids, the pollen tube releases two male gametes into the cytoplasm of the synergid. ठीक है. One of the male gamete moves towards the egg cell, okay, and fuses with the nucleus. One moves towards egg cell and fuses with the nucleus, thus completing the syngamy. This is the formation of diploid cell zygote. The other male gametophyte moves towards two pollen nuclei located in the central cell and fuses to form diploid with primary endosperm nucleus. पेन जिसको कहेंगे, पेक उसका परसर रहेगा. As this involves the fusion of three haploid cells, this is termed as triple fusion. Since two type of fusion, syngamy and triple fusion, takes place in an embryo sac, the phenomenon is known as double fertilization, an event unique to flowering plant. The central cell after triple fusion becomes the primary endosperm cell and develops into the endosperm, while zygote develops into the embryo. तो एंडोस्पर्म पढ़ते हैं, क्या दिक्कत है? मैं वैसे सोच रहा बहुत बचेगा ना. Following double fertilization events of endosperm and embryo development, maturation, ovules into seed and ovary into fruit are characteristic termed as post-fertilization events. Endosperm development precedes embryo development. Why? The primary endosperm divide forms a triploid endosperm tissue. These cells of this tissue are filled with dissolved food material and are used for nourishment of developing embryo. In most common type of endosperm development, the pen undergoes successive nuclear division to give rise to free nuclei. This stage of endosperm is known as free nuclear endosperm. Subsequently, cellular formation occurs and the endosperm becomes cellular. The number of free nuclei formed before cellularization varies greatly. The coconut water from the tender of the coconut that your memory is free nuclear division. Coconut water surrounding white kernels. Cellular endosperm. Endosperm may either be completely consumed by the developing embryo, जो कि पी ग्राउंडोटिज्म होता है, जो संतुष्ट है. Completely consumed by developing embryo, P groundnut means acid mutation may persist. Castor and coconut. You stop. ये बचा बस क्या बचा नहीं वेब निकला जाए किससे स्टार्ट है